Oh, oh, oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. On Sundays, we have our Freedom Talk, and I always invite a member from our community to reflect. What have they learned from Meaningful Mornings? And our most recent Freedom Talk, one of our reflectors, instead of reflecting about what they've learned, asked me more questions about Meaningful Mornings. And a very universal question, which I will now answer. The question is, what if what you're doing is right, but others are interpreting or feeling that this is wrong? How do you deal with such misunderstanding and negativity that comes with this? The higher perspective is there is a fire inside of you, which is your awareness that knows what is right and what is wrong. That is the presence that has the authority to validate us, and no other presence. So if you're right, you're right. Smile knowing that that presence, your original parent, knows that you're right. The lower perspective, every one of us has an ego, and our egos always make us feel that we're right. Everyone. I'm right as I'm speaking. You're right as you're listening. Our egos create this sense of a standard. And if you know about your ego and you know about others' egos, then you don't take yourself or others as seriously. They feel you're wrong and there's negativity that comes with that. To not take that as seriously. Shri Krishna has already taught this in chapter 2, verse 14. He says, Tam stitikshasva bharata. Prince Arjuna, you have to absorb, endure, forbear this challenge that you have to go through right now. There's many here who think you're wrong. But Shri Krishna is sharing, you are right to engage in this challenge. And that is the presence that has the authority to validate. Meaningful Mornings is a workshop to encourage us to be suhrid. Suhrid means large-hearted. Yesterday I was reading a book to Vyasa, and he asked, what does love mean? So you tell me, how do you describe to a 4.5-year-old what love means? And what I shared, and I could be right, I could be wrong, my ego says I'm right. It is when you give without wanting anything back. That's what love is. So if I'm right, I try to live like that, and whatever comes back, I don't want it. I don't need it, which means I'm not affected by it. We continue. Chapter 4, verses 19 to 23 describe one who is being. Being is equivalent to one who is joyous. This description is in general. For us, this is their vision. Verses 24 to 30 describes the one who is being specifically. For us, this means their lifestyle. Vision and lifestyle. This section from 19 to 30 all relates to verses 16 to 18, where Shri Krishna is describing action. He's sharing with us what we can do to be. And another way to look at this, what we can do to not be the doer. Is everyone clear about that? This is an amazing section of Bhagavad Gita. And I hope all of you have a more authentic and deep love for Shri Krishna as a teacher and his techniques too. This has been a tough portion for me to teach. Usually, I would take twice as long to teach this. And especially because this is a poem and not prose. In prose, it would be very simple. This is offered to this. But this is a poem. This is a song. So much more reflection is needed to orient these yajnas. And some of you have expressed that this has been tough for you too. A seeker shared with me that he re-listens to the recording right before I start to speak live, because so many thoughts, more reflection is needed with these. Our review. The first yajna is Drishti Yajna. This relates to the spirit. Please know the spirit doesn't need any sort of yajna, but it's as if this relates to the spirit. This is where, as if the ego is offered to the spirit, our practices check in. Are we living by this vision? Are we living from the perspective of the spirit? Don't try to force the first yajna into the rest of the yajnas. It is beyond this framework. Number 2, Deva Yajna, which relates to the body. Anything about the senses, we're relating that to the body. And this is where the sense objects are offered to the sense organs. Our practice, delay screens. Other than meaningful mornings, okay? I've already stipulated that. Number 3, Brahma Yajna. This relates to the ego. This is where the ego is offered to the spirit, and our practices bow down. Number 4, Indriya Yajna, relating to the body, where the sense organs are offered to discipline. I'm going to qualify which sense organs here, the organs of perception. And our practices save energy. Number 5, Atma Yajna, relating to the body. This is where the sense organs are offered to discipline. But now which sense organs? We've already offered the organs of perception, so now we also include the organs of response. Our practice, talk less. Number 6, Dravya Yajna, relating to our lifestyle. This is where possessions are offered to discipline. Our practice, use fully. Any possession you have right now, use it fully. Number 7, Tapa Yajna, relating to the mind. The mind is offered to discipline. Our practice, choose discomfort. Number 8, Yoga Yajna, relating to the intellect. The intellect is offered to discipline. Our practice, enjoy instrumentship. Number 9, Swadhyaya Yajna, relating to the ego, where the ego is offered to discipline. Our practice, listen carefully, like you're all doing right now, yes? What was the second yajna, Vivekji? Number 10, Jnana Yajna, relating to the ego, where ignorance is offered to knowledge. And our practice is unitask routine. Number 11, Prana Yajna. This relates to the breath. Our physiology is offered to discipline. And the practice, walk daily. Number 12, Anna Yajna. This relates to the breath also. Eating is offered to discipline. Eating is offered to discipline, and our practice, stay energized. Please try to connect to these yajnas in your own way or the practices that I've shared, helping you. The last 2 yajnas relating to the breath or physiology. In verse 29, Prana Yajna, pranayama, or the physiology to discipline, helps us to concentrate. Just think of when you're physically unwell, how much harder it is to concentrate. In verse 30, Anna Yajna, that's our last in this framework. If your stomach is completely filled with solids, what will you experience? Tamas, a food coma, correct? Like those who go for work lunches, do you work after that lunch? It's impossible. If your stomach is filled with 3/4 solids, you feel so uncomfortable, correct? You feel frustrated. That's rajas. And when the stomach is half full, that is ideal. And there's 1/4 liquids and 1/4 emptiness for all of this digestion to happen. Continuing with verse 30. Now I'm on the second line. All yajnas have been described. The second line of verse 30 shares, Sarve api ete yajna vidaha. All who are living these yajnas, they know about yajna. So what? Yajna chapita kalmashaha. Because they're living by this dedication and sacrifice, Kshapita. There is a destruction. A destruction of what? Kalmashaha, which means sin, or that which makes us unhappy. Summarizing this line, those who are disciplined, they know that discipline is heaven. Whenever we think of sin, what gets associated with that? Hell, correct? So if I have no sins, I only have merits, that is heaven. But all of these yajnas are not talking about a metaphysical heaven. They're describing having quietude of mind. Those who are disciplined, they are living in heaven. These yajnas, this dedication relating to discipline, is all a way of us. These are all ways for us to save energy. Because we need energy to evolve. Just think of a startup. What does a startup need? Resources. Why? So they can engage in research. We need energy to evolve, and discipline is a way to cultivate this energy. Then what does evolution mean? To be empathetic. Those who are most empathetic are most evolved. They're tuned into oneness or Advaita. 12 yajnas are shared. ... These are 12 examples that are given, 12 references. The point being, every facet of our lifestyle should be a yajna. I remember teaching this in Peoria once, and I asked everyone, come up with your own yajna. And one seeker came up with clean sink yajna. That before she sleeps every night, her sink is going to be clean. That's awesome. Clean driveway yajna for everyone who has snow on their driveway right now, yes? Let me read verse 31, and I'll just explain the first line. I told you 30, correct? I completed the last line of verse 30. Now we're on verse 31. Yajna shishtamrita bhujaha yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokostya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattama. I'll just highlight the third quarter. Na ayam lokaha, which means not this world. Asti ayajnasyaha, which means the one who does not engage in dedication and sacrifice. Ayajnasya, those who don't live like this, they don't gain this world nor the next world, which means they're not happy today and they're not going to be happy tomorrow. Naturally, I'll elaborate on this in the next verse. Verses 31 to 33 are a then aspect of this framework. 24 to 30 is if. If you do this, then verses 31 to 33 will manifest in your life. To application, your recent application was before you ate any meal, what did you eat? A whole fresh fruit. If you did this, you used less dishes. And if you use less dishes, that means there's less cleaning and cleaning products then, correct? It would be so ideal for us to just eat fresh fruits and vegetables from a farm where you take it from the ground and you put it back into the ground. This is a way of practicing that. Your application for tonight is be part of the happiness series. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.